Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. Okay, for the most part, this episode felt like it was a film. We're gonna be honest. There's a part with Stella and Lucas, and it felt like a PSA. It felt like one yesterday when she was talking to Tracy about, I don't know, getting her kidneys tested or something or whatever. And I get it on some level because it is called General Hospital. They are in a hospital and everything like that. But it felt so damn forced. Um, and you knew exactly what they were trying to do. And I'm not going to knock the message. It just felt like, really? I'm surprised with Sasha and Felicia that Sasha's just coming across so. She's making some very odd choices, right? She talks about how she doesn't want to know. Well, when Felicia asks about the father's medical history, and she's like, listen, before you didn't really sit there and say anything, but now that we know it's Jason, don't you think that he wants to be a part of it? And she pretty much kind of just shuts down that idea. She shuts down the idea in general, like, oh no, it's totally fine. He's not going to be involved in it or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but if there's any sort of potential problems, wouldn't you want to know this where you can try to do something about it, as soon as you can? But the fact that she shuts that down, there's like not even an eyebrow that's just raised. Um, and of course, she talks about the legal issue, like as far as him not even being um, his name on the birth certificate. Now, we all know why that's being said, but when Felicia's like, listen, maybe down the line he may sit there and decide to change his mind and it'll be like a whole big thing. And you might want to avoid that now. She's like, oh, no, no, no. He's not going to do that. I feel like if it wasn't Felicia and if it was somebody else, they definitely would be like, yeah, something ain't right about this. Um, so Rick was able to sit there and help track down where the assassin is, which I think is in Miami or something. I think. I'm not too sure. But before that even happened, Jason's like, you need to sit there and get the surgery done. And he pretty much like, I don't feel like being, locked up in the hospital while my family's still in danger. I feel like I sound like a broken record every time I see this because I'm just like, bro, it's not gonna matter if you're dead. Like you can't protect anybody if you're dead. Are you even sitting there thinking about that? And after Brick gives him the information, Sonny wants to go. And Jason again is like, this is a bad idea. He starts thinking about all these different scenarios like, well, what if the guy surprises you? What if you start to have an attack, you can't get your pills on time? And the bottom line is, he's basically saying this without saying this. You're a liability. You're a liability at this point. But Sonny is big boss. He got this. He's like, nah, it's cool. I want to sit there and find this person and get some answers. And at this point, I'm like, Jason, you must just stop wasting your breath at this point. Because, like, he's not going to sit there and change. He's not going to sit there and, once his mind is made up, that's it. Regardless of how dire his situation is. And it is pretty dire. Jordan and Isaiah had an interesting conversation because he was talking about Congressman Boyleman, or whatever that guy, the politician guy, talking about how Laura is essentially kind of corrupt as far as taking it easy on Sonny and stuff like that, and maybe you should sit there and kind of slide into her seat. And while she was like, I would never sit there and do that, she was like, he had a point. If it was anybody else, she would have found less reasons. She was like, Laura would have found less reasons and wouldn't have sat there and tried to advocate it so hard to um try to get him out the zone or whatever. I mean, granted, the thing is with Laura, it just made sense. He would have sued the city. It would have been much more work to sit there and try to get him out of there than would have been just to kind of just keep him where it's at. But again, she feels like, I don't know. I mean, her close ties with him, and then of course, they talk about Sonny in itself. Isaiah is like, that's kind of cool that he does use his money for good, donating and stuff like that. But Jordan's like, at the end of the day, the dude is still a menace. He's still a criminal. But she does sit there and say, I'd rather sit there and trust Sonny than to sit there and trust, um, Drew. Now the other Congress guy. I've said this from like the first couple months I started watching the show. Just back in high school. He's the best of a bad situation. The ports and everything like that. And a power vacuum, it's better for him to be there. Trust the devil that you know as opposed to da 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 da. So he's just the best of a bad situation. Molly comes over to pretty much try to reconcile with Christina. And, after they talk or whatever for a little bit, they kind of do come to a better place. They do. And then I think Ava comes by. Now, Ava comes by to sit there and drop off Avery, right? And when Molly takes into the room to go see Paloma, Ava's pretty much just like, long story short, she pretty much says she's going to use Sonny's illness to get full custody. And I'm kind of just like, we're still doing this? Like, it's just. They're both kind of bad in a sense. And this is why I essentially can't really root for either one of them as far as who should get custody, because they both always talk about how they want full custody, as though Avery doesn't want both of her parents or doesn't need both of her parents. So once she says that veiled threat, then she leaves. She leaves. And the next scene is, for some odd reason, Christina coming to Ava's place when Rick is there to, I don't know, get into it with her, argue with her. She's like banging on the door, and I'm kind of just like, why are we doing this for? Like, seriously, why are we doing this for? What do you think is going to wind up happening? And what I just look at this, I'm like, you think that you're doing something good, but if there was to have another court custody case or whatever, do you think that your actions would help Sonny or hurt Sonny? Um, Rick decided to come over and make peace with Alexis. Alexis is talking to Diane about the friction between those two and how it's affecting Molly. And Rick comes over there to pretty much apologize and be like, hey, we don't have to like each other. We don't have to be friends. But let's just try to be civil to each other for Molly's sake, at the very least. And saying that he got that pep talk pretty much from Cody, out of all people. Um, Lucky and Liz talk about going to the city. And of course, because they got the original actor, this is a nice little throwback for the Lucky and Liz fans that, they went to New York before, and he showed like really old flashback pictures of them when they were like, was like in their 20s, maybe 19 or whatever. Like they were super young. So I guess that's a nice scene for the Liz and Lucky fans. Um, I'm like, why do I keep looking at home? Oh, wait, wrong notes. Wrong notes. Now, here's something interesting that did wind up happening. There's a point where Britt comes over after talking to Sonny and stuff and realize that she has company. And also realize that she has plans as far as when he wants to ask her out to dinner. And Jordan's like, listen, you got to sit there and keep this on the down low, whatever. And doesn't really give him the specific reasons why, but Brooke is like, nah, it's fine. But then he was like, listen, I've been looking into your family tree, talking to Isaiah. It's into saying that the family is into some shady stuff. So I just hope you're not a part of it. Now, the reason why I find that interesting, I used to watch this show. Actually, to tell you the truth, it's this soap opera that got me into soap operas. One Like to Live. And he had a character named R.J. Gannon. And I'm just wondering, are they actually going to finally make that connection between those two? I mean, it's not like yes, the show got canceled, but that universe where they're all connected, All My Children and One Like to Live, is still all connected. So maybe it's possible that they're actually finally doing a connection. Kind of like a little bit of a throwback to the people that watched One Like to Live back in the day. I think I started watching the show in 1998, actually. Oh yeah, Nina was actually in the episode. Didn't do a damn thing, actually. Like, nothing. All Nina did was to thank Ava for, getting Porsche on board and, trying to come up with something to solve the Drew problem. And I almost forgot about it, except for the fact that I did write that Nina was there and, talking to Ava, and then it's just blank. Because, like, it didn't go anywhere. I'm kind of just like, was Nina really, was she really important in this episode to be there? Because I don't really think so. Towards the end, they did show an old photo of Michael and Morgan. So it just makes you wonder, are they still thinking about recasting? I mean, like, are they still just going to wait for him to come back? Do they have inside knowledge that he will come back? Or what's the case? Because I felt like them doing a close up of Michael and Morgan was not by accident. That was not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was intentional. It meant something. Now, I feel like that's pretty much about it. I can't think of anything else. Most likely, I'm not going to do a live stream tonight, though. Because I do got to wake up early in the morning. And it'll be better for me to do a live stream tomorrow, since Saturday, I'm actually off. So, anything I didn't talk about this video, I'll talk about in tomorrow's live stream. And including tomorrow's episode, as well as all the other 4 ones. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next video.